Hello, everyone. My name is Brody King. I'm here on behalf of ERTH Products and the Georgia Composting Council. And today I'm going to share with you a little bit about compost utilization beyond the agricultural market. So before I dive into everything, just a little bit about our business. ERTH Products, we're a majority family-owned and operated compost facility here in Georgia. Our facility is down in Plains, which is about 2.5 hours from here. And then our operations and sales is at an office in Tyrone, which is about 30 minutes from here. We've been providing the Southeast with SDA quality compost since 1996 when my grandfather started the business. And we have roughly 20 employees right now between our facility in Plains and our office in Tyrone. So the ag market is responsible for roughly 20% of our annual revenue. And with it being one of the most big and popular markets that people know exist for finished product compost, you might be wondering, where does the other 80% come from? So quickly, before I get into that, just going to share a little bit about our facility. So the picture on the right, that's our permit that you see when you pull in. And then on the left, that building in the foreground is building number 4, which is our receiving, mixing, and washout station. So that's where well, you know what, I'll just go to the next slide. It's a little easier to describe this way. So when trucks come in, they'll go to building 4, they'll unload material, and we'll begin the mixing process. Then we have 2 mixers between building 1 and 4 that will continue blending and then transport the active compost over into building 1, which is strictly for active compost. Once it's stabilized and matured, we'll convey it down to building 3 for curing and screening. And then once that's been screened, it comes back up to the front of building 2, where we'll have space for outbound loads to load up finished product, as well as storing inventory, and then some space for additional screening. So these are the main 3 benefits that I like to point to when talking to potential customers about the benefits of compost. So obviously carbon sequestration, properly matured compost sequesters carbon dioxide that would otherwise be released into the atmosphere. Dramatically improves soil health, and it improves plant growth. So the main market that I'm going to be discussing today is engineered soils. This is the market that we've been able to make a lot of headway in, especially in Atlanta, but in the broader Southeast as a whole, at ERTH Products. So the definition is it's an intentionally modified soil blend that's designed to achieve specific performance characteristics for construction, landscaping, stormwater management, or horticultural applications. Compost can help landscape architects, engineers, achieve their goals for each of these applications, and I should include construction developers as well. Those are the 3 main customer archetypes when we're talking about engineered soils. So I'm going to dive into each one of these specific blends more specifically, but I'll just go over, these are our top 5 most popular blends that we do at ERTH Products. So structural soil is going to be used beneath pavements and sidewalks to allow for root growth while also supporting heavy loads. Bioretention soils are going to be used in rain gardens and stormwater management systems. Green roof soils are lightweight blends that retain water while preventing excessive loading on roof structures. And sports turf soils, blends designed for drainage, stability, and resiliency on fields and golf courses. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about horticultural soils. So structural soils, I'm sure you all may have passed this issue on your walk over to the conference today. So what we do for our structural soil is it's a blend of crushed stone, normally a thicker aggregate, and compost, as well with a native soil, typically. So the crushed stone is going to provide the ample support for heavy load bearing, whether it's vehicles or foot traffic. And it also will preserve the soil porosity to allow for root growth down beneath the surface, rather than the roots being attracted to the surface water above the impervious surface. And then the compost is going to create macropores and bind to those aggregates to further retain the water and further support root growth beneath the surface. And so this is an example of a project we did over in Midtown. This was years and years ago, and this picture was taken right at the completion of the project. But if you go over to Tech Square today, you will see that it looks exactly the same, just with more mature vegetation. So green roofs. So the qualities that make up a green roof soil are it's going to be lightweight. Native soils are going to be too heavy for the majority of green roof projects. So we'll blend in lightweight aggregates to help reduce the load of the soil. Stormwater drainage and retention. It must be able to shed enough water to prevent roof damage while also retaining enough to support the plant life. So that's where engineered soil, as a term, comes into play, because it really is a balance of these different raw materials. Long-term stability, it must be able to hold its volume over time and nutrient balanced. And that's for a large aspect where compost comes into play for these green roof soils. So when we talk about the benefits of utilizing a green roof on a development, and what we see a lot, the attraction from these developers is normally it helps them obtain LEED certification. And I believe we have 8 credits on here that green roofs almost certainly will help you obtain towards that certification. So I'll just quickly go through those. Sustainable sites credit, heat island reduction. The vegetation of a green roof is going to reduce the heat absorption of the actual building itself. Open space, this is from intensive green roofs, can count towards this credit. So when we talk about green roofs, there's generally 2 types. It's intensive and extensive. Intensive, an example of that is on the top in this slide. That's a project over in Midtown, a residential space, and what differentiates the two is the soil depth. So anything 6 inches or deeper is going to be an intensive green roof, and that's going to support larger vegetation, recreational space, stuff like that. And then extensive, example of that below, that's over at Phillips or State Farm Marina. And that's going to be less than 6 inches. And you'll typically see grass, wildflowers, mosses, stuff like that. Maybe like a slanted roof used as a green roof will be an extensive example. For water efficiency credits, outdoor water use reduction, it can and will reduce irrigation demand as compost utilization across all applications will. Rainwater management will improve the building's stormwater runoff quantity and quality. That's if the soil is performing correctly. Energy and atmosphere, going back to reducing the urban heat island effect, that in turn will also reduce your HVAC load by naturally cooling the building. Materials and resources, so that's the recycled content or regional materials credit. That's earned through using recycled aggregates, which I know for all of our green roof soils, we do use recycled lightweight aggregates, and I haven't heard of one that doesn't, so that's a credit that you'll certainly achieve. And then finally, indoor environmental quality, so it's daylight and quality views. That's one that all green roofs are always going to achieve also, so long as it's in a populated enough area to where, it applies to that. So all LEED certification credits that can be earned through green roofs make green roof media utilization attractive to developers, architects, and engineers. And compost is crucial in providing the needed nutrients and structure to ensure the success of a green roof media. So these bottom pictures, these are just 2 of my favorite green roof jobs we've done out of state. On the left, that's over in downtown Memphis. And that's a cool example of an intensive green roof. But it's not utilizing heavy vegetation, but it's an open park. So they'll hold events on that space, and it has a lot of load-bearing capability. And then on the right, that's a fun example of how you can get creative with an extensive green roof, because I believe it's a moss that they have climbing up those wooden structures to make it look like trees, but it's very lightweight soil on top of that building, and that one's in Nashville. So athletic fields. Compost emitted soils add a lot of value to athletic fields, and just read through these quickly. It improves the soil structure and aeration, enhances the drainage and water retention capabilities, better turf grass health, enhances the soil biology, carbon sequestration and sustainability. And then these last 2 are the 2 that I like to focus on when I discuss this, just because they're tangible. Because when you're talking to clients, and you can sell them on the performance benefits and how it improves athlete safety through improved turf density and reduced compaction, that tends to stand out to them a decent bit. And then also, when you can show them where they can save cost on reduced chemical fertilizer inputs. And then that last picture and this one were both at, I believe, Milton High School, which is a high school just north of the perimeter. So golf courses, similar story. Compost provides all the same benefits. as it does for athletic fields, and golf courses around the world are increasingly utilizing and encouraging the use of compost. So the USGA, if you go on their website, there's plenty of articles where they talk about the benefits of using compost, especially on the greens. So a USGA study recently showed that compost amended root zones maintain higher turf quality, 15 to 25% less fertilizer, and 20 to 30% improved water efficiency. So those are metrics that you can point directly to show cost savings for these golf courses. And compost is also providing significant increase in turf recovery. So now we're seeing a lot of divot mixes, which are traditionally just sand, maybe sand mixed with some of the native topsoil found around the golf course. They're now starting to mix compost in with this just because of the turf regeneration benefits that compost can provide. Bioretention media. So with urban environments expanding to become increasingly impervious, bioretention soils provide a solution to the ever-present issue of stormwater runoff. Bioretention media refers to the engineered soils designed to be used in systems such as rain gardens, bioswales, and stormwater planters. These soils are engineered to capture, filter, and infiltrate stormwater runoff. And I have examples of each one of those applications in the next few slides. So here's an example of a bioretention rain garden. This is a before and after at Milton High School. I believe we did 5 of these ponds in their parking lot, and it encapsulates all of their stormwater management system at least the front end of that high school. So the before shows you it's going to be a lighter soil. It's going to be a sandier soil to allow for the infiltration. And I believe that the after picture was taken 2 or 3 years ago, and this project was completed in 2011. So it shows the possibilities for vegetation growth when the landscapers take a good care of it over time. Here's a couple more projects we've done. So on the left, that's the Tate Center at UGA, and that's an example of a bioswale, which its purpose is similar to a rain garden, except instead of a sandier soil, there's going to be some form of a thicker aggregate that's going to help the stormwater runoff pass down into a drainage system rather than infiltrate into the rain garden itself. Top dressing is a common use for compost in residential purposes as well as commercial, parks, athletic fields, and golf courses. The slow nutrient release supports healthier plant growth, reducing need for synthetic fertilizer. That's a pretty consistent benefit that across all applications. And the organic matter from compost creates a more resilient soil, helping retain water and reducing the need for irrigation. So that picture on the right, that's actually a residence on a golf course. One of our customers sent us that picture. So when it comes to top dressing, we'll sell it to landscape retailers. Sometimes we'll just have customers directly reach out to us for a yard of compost delivered to their house. And we also have top dressing companies that will purchase compost straight from us. And an interesting thing that they've mentioned to us, so this one, they use a blower truck to spread their top dressing. And compost is significantly less harsh on their equipment than a traditional top dressing that's going to be sandier and more aggregate based. And then finally, seasonal color. This is the horticultural market. Seasonal color relies on annuals and fast-growing ornamentals to thrive in a short window of time. So compostability to improve soil structure, better support root growth, increase water infiltration and oxygen availability, improve nutrient uptake and efficiency, and improve the soil for future seasons, make it a great option for landscapers. And we like to focus on that last benefit, just how it makes the soil better for future seasons. A lot of times, seasonal color, it's going to be the same plant beds year after year. So knowing that that soil's already been amended with compost 1, 2, 3, however many years before is going to get increasingly healthier. And it's super valuable for these landscapers to know that for that short window of time, that soil is going to be ready to go. So I forgot to add a slide, but before I get into this next section, just quickly talk about the operations of engineered soils. So a lot of my day-to-day is going out and collecting samples, sending them off for testing to test for the performance characteristics of these soils. So we'll have our standardized blend for each of those applications, but a lot of these engineering firms, architect firms, will have internal policies, and there's going to be slight differentiations from project to project on what they need that soil to do. So once you have your standardized blend supposed to kind of meet in the middle of all of those, and then you'll learn over time how to tweak that soil to make it meet the customer's request. But it's expensive, the testing is. 5-gallon samples filled with sand is not cheap shipping, so you want to try to get it right the first time, so you can hopefully roll that cost off into the soil. If not, it gets a little hard to justify doing that. So this last section is just going to be compost fighting natural disasters. This is a market within the industry that ERTH Products, at least we believe, is underutilized and is incredibly important, and there's a lot of potential for future growth for finished product use in natural disaster prevention and relief. So for floods and severe rainfall events, compost will increase the soil's ability to absorb and hold water, reducing polluted water runoff. Erosion from flooding is less likely to occur to compost-amended soils due to the strengthened soil structure compost provides. And compost blankets, often used in construction and landscaping, will slow and filter stormwater in more urban environments, reducing flooding and water pollution. Hurricanes and coastal storms. So according to the Organization for American States, storm surge-related flooding is responsible for approximately 90% of deaths in landfalling hurricanes. So compost is often used in coastal restoration projects to reduce the impact of these storm surges. And this is a process called dune stabilization. So those sand dunes, there's signs that say keep off when you go to the beach. That's not just because they look pretty. They're extremely important in protecting the land behind them from, or in the event of a storm surge. Droughts, so obviously compost water holding capabilities will significantly help crops survive during drier seasons. And the organic matter in compost increases the soil's resiliency due to the deeper root growth. And wildfires. So stronger plant growth is promoted by compost utilization. Thicker vegetation will act as a natural fire break, which might sound counterintuitive, but an area that's had the chance to grow, that's been a composted amended landscape, it'll be wetter and cooler, and that's going to at least slow down the spread of a wildfire.